The Bible, the New Testament.
Oh, where were we?
We were done with the Old Testament books. I assume that means we are moving on to the New Testament.
Sure. We already said that there are 27 in total. They too are divided into 4 groups.
Tell me about them.
We have the Gospel, historical book, the Epistles, and lastly, prophetic book.
I noticed that some are singular, others are plural.
Yes, we will find out about that soon enough. What do you know about the Gospels?
They are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Great. That is a good place to start. But do you know the meaning of the term gospel?
Nope.
Well, it means good news. These books record the good news of salvation for humankind through Jesus Christ. The Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called Synoptic Gospels.
Synoptic. What does that mean?
Synoptic means looking at something from similar angle.
So what you are saying is that the 3 were written in a similar manner?
Yes, they record the life and teachings of Jesus Christ similarly.
I think that explains something that I have been seeing in some Bibles. A chapter or verse in Matthew has a reference to Mark or Luke. And if you open the reference, you get the same story being told the other side.
My point exactly.
Wait a minute. What about John?
The Gospel according to St. John is told in a unique way. It has a different approach and language about who Jesus is and why he came.
So how was the information about Jesus passed before the writing of the Gospels?
I like your questions, Mary. Before that, they were passed on from one person to another through word of mouth.
My history teacher calls that oral traditions.
That's right. Now, earlier on, you noticed that some categories of the New Testament books are in singular.
Yes, like you said, historical book instead of historical books.
And that is because it is only one.
Which is?
The Acts of the Apostles. Do you know who wrote it?
No? Who wrote it?
I want you to find out for yourself.
How?
Turn to the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 1, verse 1, and read loudly.
Okay, here we go. In the first book, O Theophilus, I have dealt with all that Jesus began to do and teach.
The writer is addressing someone called Theophilus and is making reference to the first book that he wrote.
So which one is the first book that he wrote?
Can you now read Luke chapter 1, verse 1 to 3?
Okay, in a moment. It says, "Inasmuch as many have undertaken to compile a narrative of the things which have been accomplished among us, just as they were delivered to us by those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word, it seemed good to me also, having followed closely for some time past, to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus."
So, what do you notice?
That the books of Luke and Acts of the Apostles are addressed to the same man, Theophilus.
Good. So, the 2 were written by Saint Luke.
Nice. So who was Theophilus?
Well, Theophilus means a friend of God. The Acts of the Apostles deals with the history of the early church.
So did Luke establish the early church?
No. The early church was established by Saint Paul. And Luke is only recording what he has gathered from the eyewitnesses.
History of the early church must have been very important in helping the ministry to grow.
Yes, it was. Actually, the Acts of the Apostles was written to show that good news of salvation was universal and not restricted to the Jews only.
And that was important because?
Because some people thought that Jesus had come specifically for the Jews. However, in his teachings, Jesus makes it clear that he came for both the Jews and the Gentiles.
So Gentiles means non-Jews?
Yes, in Hebrew language. Now, next we have the Epistles, also known as letters.
The works of St. Paul.
Well, not all of them were written by St. Paul. The Epistles are 21 in number and were written by different people to the early church as well as to individuals.
So if not all of them were written by Paul, who are these other writers?
Well, to answer your question, you should first understand that the epistles are divided into 3 categories. We have Pauline epistles, the Pastoral Epistles, and the Catholic Epistles.
Very interesting.
The Pauline epistles were written by Paul, and they are 9, namely Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians.
Who are these people?
Well, they lived in areas which are found in present-day Turkey, Cyprus, Greece, and Lebanon.
Okay.
Now, moving on. We have the Pastoral Letters, which are 5 in number. They are 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, and Hebrews.
Why are they called pastoral?
Because they were addressed to shepherds or pastors. They show high regard for pastors and how their duties should be carried out.
I see.
They are mainly concerned with the life of the church.
So who wrote them?
Well, they were written in the name of Paul and with his authority, even though the actual writing was done by various people.
Why were they writing in Paul's name?
Since Paul was the greatest missionary after the death of Christ, writing to the church communities in his name added value to the letters.
Makes sense. If I got a letter from the school principal, I would take it seriously even if the actual handwriting is for one of the teachers.
Good. That is a good comparison, my child. The Catholic letters are 7 in number, including James, 1st Peter, 2nd Peter, 1st John, 2nd John, 3rd John, and Jude.
Why are they called Catholic letters? Are they related to the Catholic Church?
One question at a time, young lady. The Catholic letters have nothing to do with the Roman Catholic Church, okay? They are so called because the word Catholic means universal.
So they are universal letters?
Yes, if you remove the first verse of chapter 1.
Why are we removing the first verse?
Because the first verse carries a name. For example, 2nd John is written by the elder to the elect lady and her children, while 3rd John is written by the elder to beloved Gaius. However, if you remove the person the letter is addressed to, you get a perfect message that can be applied to any group or individual of all times.
Now I understand.
Good. While their authors are not clearly known, their messages are relevant to all people of all time. Now let us wrap up the New Testament divisions by looking at the one last book that we have not talked about.
The book of Revelation.
Yes, the book of Revelation. So you are paying attention.
Of course.
Nice. Revelation is also known as the Apocalypse in Greek. It is a book that is so different from the others and sometimes difficult to understand.
Why is it difficult to understand?
Because it is written in metaphors and symbols. It talks of God's will for the future. Now you know all about the books of the Bible.
Thank you. Let me run home before my mom starts to miss me.
Come back tomorrow, okay?
For what?
You shall see.
Okay, I will.